they weren't the first to do this. It was Blake Lively, it was Ryan Reynolds, this was their strategy, and now they kind of want to put the genie back in the bottle. But guess what? The genie does not want to go back in the bottle.
Ryan Reynolds went absolutely bananas after getting hammered by Fox News for firing a makeup artist and proving that he's just as pathetic, egotistical, and controlling as Blake Lively.
Somebody revealed a source that says he had quite an experience demanding his makeup artist show up or get fired. I'll share that story for you.
They exposed his nasty behavior and put him in his place, because let's be real, this man has no right to fire people just because he can't control his temper.
That's so gross and weird and manipulative, even if it's true. It's so just, this movie somehow was a magnet for awful people.
Ryan Reynolds, the so-called Hollywood funny guy, got absolutely torched by Fox News. Turns out, this man isn't the lovable, sarcastic, Deadpool-esque goofball he pretends to be. Nope. He's just a power-hungry, insecure control freak who thinks he owns Hollywood.
And Ryan Reynolds, by all accounts, seems like a great guy. He is acting. By all accounts, he is a total pain in the ass.
And if you thought that was an exaggeration, let me introduce you to the time he threw an insane tantrum and tried to end a makeup artist's entire career because they had the audacity to be unavailable for a reshoot. Yeah, we're talking full-on Hollywood dictator meltdown over some foundation and powder.
He's one of those guys, so they are absolute bullies.
This whole mess came to light on Fox News' Kennedy Saves the World podcast, where an inside source from the studio revealed that during the filming of Deadpool 2, Ryan's personal makeup artist wasn't available because they were out of the country. You know, like a normal human being who sometimes has to work on other projects.
Well, Ryan Reynolds on the Enneagram is a psycho. That's what he is. He's just a psycho. His number is psycho.
But instead of, I don't know, hiring literally any other makeup artist in Hollywood, because it's not like makeup artists are a rare breed of mythical creatures, Ryan lost his mind. He reportedly told the artist, "If you don't come back, you will never work in Hollywood again."
Ryan Reynolds had to do some reshoots for the movie. His makeup artist was out of the country working. Ryan Reynolds threatened to fire the makeup artist off the rest of the film and the reshoots they had to do, and also said, if you don't come back and do my makeup for these reshoots, you will never work in Hollywood again.
Oh, I'm sorry, is he a studio executive now? Is he running 20th Century Fox? Who gave this man the power to blacklist someone from an entire industry over a scheduling issue? The funniest part? Fox executives were reportedly frustrated, but they had no choice but to comply because Reynolds had already taken full control of the movie. This man was throwing career-ending threats over a bit of powder and contouring. Imagine the level of ego and narcissism that takes. And honestly, we shouldn't even be surprised because this is exactly how Ryan Reynolds operates.
No one knew who he was beforehand. Everyone knows who he is now. If he is a smart sociopath, he'll work that to his advantage.
This guy has made a career out of acting like the chill, easygoing, funny dude. But the moment he gets behind the scenes, he turns into a full-blown Hollywood tyrant. Just look at what happened with the Deadpool franchise itself. The original Deadpool was directed by Tim Miller, who helped bring the whole vision to life. But guess what? Tim didn't make it to Deadpool 2. Why? Because Ryan Reynolds wanted complete control over the entire project.
Ryan used his nice pool character in Deadpool and Wolverine to mock Justin Baldoni.
Miller later admitted, "Ryan wanted full control, and I wasn't willing to fight every single decision." Translation: Reynolds turned into an overgrown toddler who refused to compromise and bullied an actual director out of his own movie.
Blake Lively, her brand, Ryan Reynolds' brand, have totally been tarnished by this because the world now sees them for who they are. They cannot act their way out of this.
And let's not forget how he treats his co-stars. If you think this dude is just bothering makeup artists and directors, think again. He actively sidelines and humiliates actors if they dare to challenge him. Case in point, Morena Baccarin, aka the lead actress from Deadpool, who went from playing Wade Wilson's entire love interest in the first movie to being reduced to an afterthought in Deadpool 2. Why? Because apparently, she had a disagreement with Reynolds on set. And let's just say, Ryan Reynolds does not handle disagreements well. Rather than dealing with it like a professional, he made sure Morena was iced out of press events, completely excluded her from promotional tours, and left her out of all premiere group photos. You would think she wasn't even in the movie if you looked at the red carpet events. But this is what power-drunk Ryan Reynolds does. He picks fights, then erases anyone who gets in his way. And it's not just the Deadpool cast. TJ Miller, who played Weasel in Deadpool, also came forward and said Ryan Reynolds was genuinely mean to him on set, and not in a joking way. This man is a comedian, and even he couldn't pretend Ryan's behavior was funny. He straight up admitted, he was weirdly mean to me. Not as a joke, just genuinely rude.
On Deadpool, where he said, let's do one more take. And everyone was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean to me, but to me.
Cathartic.
But as if I'm Weasel.
Imagine being so unbearable that even comedians think you're out of line. Reynolds allegedly treated him like garbage on set, belittling him in front of the crew, and reminding him that he was just a side character and not the star.
So he was like, what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star, but you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
So he's riffed.
And what's wild is Ryan's not even subtle about his control issues. They've been exposed over and over again, even beyond Deadpool. Take Rebecca Ferguson, who had a terrible experience with an insecure, angry actor while filming a movie. Now, she never named names, but let's connect the dots real quick. The movie was Life, 2017, and her co-stars, Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal. And since Jake is still out here minding his business, all eyes are on Ryan as the angry little man she had to deal with.
I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star, and this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable.
Ferguson said she was so uncomfortable on set that she refused to act directly with this person anymore. Instead, she straight up demanded to act toward a tennis ball instead of looking at them. Imagine being so insufferable that your own co-star refuses to even acknowledge your existence on camera. That's a new level of toxic. But it gets worse. After speaking out, Rebecca received calls from colleagues warning her that she had gone too far.
And I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable that I got screamed at. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back.
Gone too far? She just told the truth about a horrible work environment, and suddenly people were acting like she committed treason. This is how Hollywood protects the worst people. They silence victims and keep enabling powerful actors like Ryan Reynolds because they don't want to rock the boat. Meanwhile, Ryan gets to keep throwing tantrums and treating people like garbage without consequences.
And I remember the next day I walked on and I said, you get off my set. This is the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared. Yes. And I looked at this person and I said, you can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again.
And let's not ignore what happened with Jake Gyllenhaal. He and Ryan were once super close, doing interviews together, making jokes. Hollywood besties, right? Well, not anymore. When asked about Reynolds recently, Jake completely shut down, refused to say a single word, and looked visibly irritated. The interviewer tried to push him, and he coldly said, "I have nothing to say about him." That's not normal friend behavior. That's someone who is done with your nonsense.
Any words for Ryan, seeing as the next time we talk to him, he will be seeing that?
I have nothing to say to him.
And honestly, who can blame him? It's becoming painfully obvious that Ryan Reynolds is not the quirky, funny, lovable guy he pretends to be. He's just another power-obsessed Hollywood narcissist who has zero patience, zero humility, and a massive ego that no one is allowed to challenge.
We know you have an ongoing feud with Ryan.
Who?
You know that guy. What's it gonna take for him to actually be BFFs with you?
Well, I mean, in truth, there was a time in which we were.
Every single person who has worked with him and dared to speak up has described him as controlling, rude, and insecure. From makeup artists, to co-stars, to directors, to his own ex-wives, the pattern is undeniable. Ryan Reynolds is not the nice guy of Hollywood. He's just a self-absorbed, power-hungry bully who finally got exposed.
Me and Gina encountered a rude celebrity once, and we don't want to say who it is.
Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds were once Hollywood's favorite bromance. laughing on talk shows, cracking inside jokes, and pretending they were two peas in a pod. But then Life 2017 happened, and suddenly, Gyllenhaal wanted nothing to do with him. And when I say nothing, I mean absolutely zero interaction, zero acknowledgement, and zero interest in even pretending they were ever friends. That level of disgust doesn't just happen over a minor disagreement. Something major must have gone down between them.
And it's pretty obvious that he's not joking about not being friends with Ryan Reynolds anymore.
Jake Gyllenhaal's reaction when asked about Ryan Reynolds was pure ice-cold rejection. His face dropped, his energy changed, and he flatly said, "I have nothing to say about him." No fake Hollywood friendliness, no jokes, just straight-up dismissal. And let's be real, Gyllenhaal isn't some drama-loving celebrity. This is the same guy who stayed silent when Taylor Swift dragged him for 10 whole minutes in a song. But with Ryan, he couldn't even fake a polite response. The rumors all say the same thing. Reynolds is unbearable, jealous, and toxic, and Gyllenhaal finally saw through the fake nice guy act.
Now you see that Jake Gyllenhaal has also unfollowed Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and Blake Lively. But apparently he didn't unfollow them until they had already unfollowed him.
And if there's one thing Ryan Reynolds hates more than not being the center of attention, it's being called out for being unfunny. Let's get something straight. His entire career is built on sarcasm, but sarcasm isn't a personality, and it sure as hell isn't actual humor. This man isn't a comedic genius. He's just a guy who figured out that if he says something in a deadpan voice and smirks, people will assume he's funny. But guess what? Plenty of people who worked with him aren't buying it anymore.
I'm really bad at keeping a straight face around TJ Miller. Everyone knows that on our set. We lost days to me, yeah.
TJ Miller, who actually knows what funny is, exposed Reynolds for what he really is. He didn't say, "Ryan is just a fun-loving prankster," or, "Oh, he jokes too much." No, he straight up said, "Ryan Reynolds makes fun of people, not to be funny, but to belittle them." That's not comedy, that's being a condescending jackass.
So he was like, you know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star. But you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
And it doesn't stop there. Scarlett Johansson, his own ex-wife, basically called him out for being the same exact way in their relationship. She called him passive-aggressively jealous, which is just a polite way of saying insecure, controlling, and unbearable. And considering he went from being married to Scarlett Johansson to immediately jumping into a relationship with Blake Lively, it doesn't take a genius to see how his fragile little ego couldn't handle being with a woman whose career was skyrocketing while his was going nowhere.
Strangers describe me as extremely disloyal.
And let's talk about the fact that Quentin Tarantino, one of the most respected filmmakers in the industry, absolutely torched Ryan Reynolds and his Netflix cash grabs. In an interview, Tarantino didn't just lightly shade Reynolds. He completely dismissed his entire career. Ryan Reynolds has made $50 million on this movie and $50 million on that movie. I don't even know what those movies are. Have you seen them? Translation: Ryan is making trash movies that no one actually cares about.
And then I think I don't know. I mean, would I work with him again? No.
No.
I would not work with him
that
again.
much vitriol.
And just when you thought that was the biggest insult, Gerard Butler came through with the knockout punch. When asked about Ryan Reynolds' movie Free Guy, Butler didn't even pretend to know what it was. He straight up said, "I don't know what that is. I don't watch his movies." Imagine being in Hollywood for decades, promoting yourself nonstop, and having major actors openly admit they don't even acknowledge your work. If that's not humiliating, I don't know what is.
Why is Ryan doing this? And the other weird thing is, like, maybe he got, I think he's kind of an insecure dude.
And you know what? It's not just actors calling him out, it's directors too. The legendary Chris Columbus, the guy who gave us Home Alone and Harry Potter, publicly shredded Reynolds for trying to ruin a classic movie. Ryan thought it would be a great idea to make a stoner version of Home Alone called Stoned Alone. Yes, that was actually a thing he pitched. Chris Columbus, a man who actually respects filmmaking, said, "It's an insult to cinema. He needs to leave classic films alone. And that's exactly why so many Hollywood actors and filmmakers have stopped acknowledging him altogether. When's the last time you saw a respected director say they wanted to work with Ryan Reynolds? When's the last time you saw a major actor, who isn't contractually forced to, praise him publicly? You don't. Because most of Hollywood has already figured out what the rest of the world is just now starting to realize. Ryan Reynolds is an insecure, ego-driven nightmare who burns bridges everywhere he goes.
The thing about myself I've learned to love is...
The thing about myself that I've learned to love is insecurity. That's a real answer, yeah, insecurity. Yeah.
And let's be real, even his so-called fans are starting to see through him. His sarcastic humor that once seemed witty and charming is now coming off as mean-spirited and exhausting. His constant need to control every project he's in is starting to look less like creative passion and more like a desperate need for power. And his entire public persona, this nice guy routine, is crumbling before our eyes.
He looks like the guy that fucked your high school girlfriend.
At this point, Ryan Reynolds isn't just losing friends in Hollywood, he's losing the goodwill of the public. And when the only people left defending you are paid PR firms and diehard fanboys, you know your fake Hollywood empire is finally starting to collapse. Scarlett Johansson really tried to warn everyone, but nobody listened. She came out and said it plain and simple. Ryan Reynolds is a jealous, insecure control freak. And if you know anything about Scarlett, you know she's not one for unnecessary drama. But when she said, when someone is passive-aggressively jealous, it shows insecurity, she wasn't just making some generic statement. She was talking about Ryan.
Sometimes I don't even know what world I live in, to be quite honest. But here is Antonio Brown announcing that he is performing at Firefest. They really should call it Firefest 1 since the first one.
But the absolute worst part? He didn't just leave Scarlett. He upgraded himself to Blake Lively before the divorce was even final. Let's not sugarcoat this. Ryan met Blake on the set of Green Lantern while he was still married. And by the time his divorce papers were dry, they were already dating. This man wasted zero time moving on, almost like he had been lining up Blake as a backup option the entire time. And honestly, it makes perfect sense. Blake Lively is exactly the type of woman a fragile, insecure man like Ryan Reynolds would run to after being humiliated by an actual powerhouse like Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett was an A-list, respected, independent actress. Blake was a CW star trying to break into serious Hollywood roles. You think Ryan didn't see that and think, oh, finally, a woman who won't overshadow me? This man was never gonna survive in a marriage where he wasn't the star. And it's not just Scarlett. His other ex, Alanis Morissette, also called him out for being a jealous, insecure mess. This man was engaged to Alanis for 3 years before he dumped her out of nowhere. And after their split, Alanis went and dropped an entire album, Flavors of Entanglement, inspired by their breakup. And one of the biggest lines, if I just say it's true, I'm unbelievably insecure, really broken, devastated, then I can move through it. Oh, look, there's that word again, insecure. When two exes, one a Hollywood superstar and the other a Grammy-winning musician, both say the same thing about a guy, maybe, just maybe, he's actually the problem. And what do you know? Blake Lively, the perfect wife that Ryan left Scarlett for, is now getting dragged into his PR mess too. For years, Blake and Ryan have been doing this annoying PR campaign where they pretend they have the quirkiest, cutest, most perfect marriage in Hollywood. Every time they're in the news, it's because one of them posted some forced, painfully unfunny joke about each other on Instagram like a couple of middle schoolers. And people ate it up for years, but now, people are starting to see through it.
He literally just took his helmet off and walked off the field. He made $100 million playing football and he's dead broke now. So now he's a rapper and like, God bless him, it sucks.
Because here's the thing. No actual happy couple feels the need to constantly prove how in love they are. And the fact that they do it every single time one of them has a scandal or bad press, yeah, that's not natural. That's carefully calculated damage control.
Forward on Sunday, when are you going to get rid of daylight savings?
Okay. So he says the clocks are springing forward on Sunday. Is that this weekend? Oh my, I'm excited for that. It's been kind of dreary. I guess that means we made it out of the worst of the winter.
You ready?
And let's not ignore the massive elephant in the room, Blake's own legal battle with Justin Baldoni. This woman has been in and out of court for months because of the messiest Hollywood lawsuit in years. And now, Fox News and Hollywood insiders are coming for Ryan separately. They're not even being taken down as a power couple. They're individually crumbling on their own.
There is no question that, yes, Ryan Reynolds based his Deadpool Wolverine character, Nice Pool, with the man bun, on Justin Baldoni.
And let's be honest, did Ryan Reynolds use Blake Lively to fix his image after his failed marriage with Scarlett? Because that perfect husband act didn't start until he was with Blake. All of a sudden, he was the funny husband with the cute marriage and the Instagram jokes. It's almost like he needed an easier, more controllable relationship to rebuild his brand. And now, with Hollywood turning on him, what happens to Blake? Because let's be real, Blake Lively's career has never been strong enough to survive on her own. She's been riding the wave of their power couple branding for years. But if Ryan's image falls apart, what happens to her? And make no mistake, his reputation is falling apart. Hollywood has officially stopped protecting him. Fox News, of all places, just exposed him for being a toxic, controlling nightmare on set. Directors, co-stars, and even his own exes have all spoken out about his insane ego, his obsession with power, and his nasty attitude. And here's the funniest part. He spent his whole career pretending to be the funny guy everyone loved. And now even that persona is being destroyed. His comedy is being re-examined, and people are realizing he's not actually funny. He's just an insecure man who makes fun of others to hide his own flaws.
And you want to know something? He's not so funny in real life.
Really?
No, he's not so funny. He's very serious.
And now, Hollywood actors are refusing to work with him. Directors are calling him out. His own best friend, Jake Gyllenhaal, won't even speak about him. And his exes? They've been saying the same thing for years. At this point, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively aren't Hollywood's perfect couple. They're Hollywood's biggest PR scam, and the cracks are finally starting to show. Ryan Reynolds' fake nice guy act is crumbling, and Hollywood is finally done with his ego, tantrums, and toxicity. Subscribe for more Hollywood exposés, because the truth always comes out.